So, this part of the list is going to be the lesser known list, really good horror movies. And since we're out of the Halloween season, I thought I'd throw in a few movies that I thought would be pretty good outside of the Halloween season, too. I mean, a lot of these are good outside of the Halloween season. And if you've got any that you want to throw in, too, let me know.
I got you.
I'm sure there's some I'm going to miss. The first one I think is Gangbusters, though. It's like a classic in the horror genre, but at the same time, it's still like a cult classic. So this one is Return of the Living Dead. Now, I'm going to imagine that you have and haven't seen a lot of these movies like the first list, because a lot of these are kind of low-key movies, but I feel like you like a lot of low-key movies. We'll see how many you like. I think there's some that you're going to be interested in, though. There's one that I think you're really going to be interested in called Wishmaster. It's about the djinn.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
I've heard that's a good movie.
It's a pretty good movie, honestly. It's decent. It's I watched it. It's I think it's a Wes Craven movie, the guy who did A Nightmare on Elm Street. It's pretty good though. All right. Number 1, Return of the Living Dead. You know the story about this one? Have you seen Return of the Living Dead?
No, I've not.
It's pretty good. It's a class in the Living Dead genre, the zombie genre. At this point, I think it's just like a classic horror movie in general. I think it started off as a way to get like a sequel to Night of the Living Dead, but they couldn't really like retain the rights or anything to it or anything like that. So they ended up doing their own thing as being like kind of a spoof parody of Night of the Living Dead. And it's about like this group of teenagers that go to like a cemetery, and these two guys that are at a mortuary, they end up talking about this like weird case that they found, or that one of them got like a hold of like some years ago. And he said that Night of the Living Dead was like based on a true story or something like that, and that one of these this corpse that's in this like sludgy case is actually one of the zombies that's from that original like event. And they accidentally like pop it open and become like slowly morph into zombies themselves. Basically, they go through like the process of like craving brains and shit, and it gets to the point where like the mist of the shit that like that got into them, it goes into like the graveyard, and it soaks into the grave, and it starts like bringing up all the zombies in the cemetery, and it just starts causing crashing out like a bunch of like zombies attacking everybody and causing more zombies to come. So then cops get called. The zombies are attacking all the cops because they're coming out of the cemetery in droves, and they're like boarding up the moratorium, and they're trying to like call the cops for more like help. And it gets to the point where the zombie attacks like the guy, like one of the cops, and they're talking over the radio. They're like, "Do you need help? What do you need?" And the zombie literally picks up the radio and goes, "Send more cops." And they literally just start sending like a bunch of cops. It gets to the point where the army gets called, and they have to like wipe out the entire town or area or whatever it is. Like classic, like, send in the nukes and just clean up, the whole town kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great movie, and it's probably one of the first ones to do that kind of idea, so it's a classic in that kind of like cartoonish like genre of like just send in the nukes and just take care of this mess. But it's a great movie. Highly recommend it. Here's a couple of trivia facts about it. The filmmakers had to get approval from Lysol to have Frank spray away the stench of death with their product. They liked the idea that Lysol would kill any conceivable odor. That's pretty funny. The shot of the barrel corpse, nicknamed Tar Man, changing through the glass panel was done with a wax face over the skull, and heat turned up to melt it. The glass cracking was unintentional and happened due to the heat. And that's pretty iconic, like the glass having a cracked effect on it. I guess we can go through this one pretty quick because we talked about this in the well-known one. Night of the Creeps is one of my personal favorite horror movies of all time, and it's just I think it's a classic at this point. Again, another zombie movie. It's a space zombie movie, and there's slugs and shit. There's a lot of good shit about it, and I highly recommend anybody who's interested to watch that movie. It's really good. Classic B movie. And then there's this other B movie called Matinee. I don't think you've ever watched it, but tell me if you have or haven't. It's really good.
Never heard of that.
It's excellent. It's by Joe Dante, the guy who did Small Soldiers and Gremlins and Piranha.
Hmm.
If I'm not mistaken, yeah, he did Piranha. The original I'm talking about. Fantastic director, and this is one of my favorite movies when I was growing up, and it's just a really good kind of family movie. It's about this kid who's growing up in the 1960s, like the early 60s, when the late 50s, early 60s, when the Cuban Missile Crisis is happening. And you've got this guy, John Goodman plays him. He's basically like an Alfred Hitchcock type, and he makes like all these like cheesy B movies that like he tries to go get everyone to see. He goes to this small town in Florida where all these kids are, where they're all kind of preparing for the Cuban Missile Crisis to happen, and like going through like nuclear bomb drills and shit like that. It's hard to like get into it, but he's trying to like make a 4D type movie where people think like an actual nuclear bomb is going off. It's kind of crazy. It's I'm really probably butchering this synopsis of it, but I highly recommend everyone to watch it. It's a great movie. And it's got like almost like a Disney feel to it, but it's a little more like adult, if that makes sense. It's like that Small Soldiers kind of like family vibe where you could watch it with either like a family or even just like yourself, and it's just like a fantastic story or movie. Highly recommend Matinee. For the movie Mant, the movie within the movie, Joe Dante cast actors who had appeared in 1950s era science fiction movies. These included Kevin McCarthy, Robert Cornthwaite, and William Shallert. Lawrence Wolseley is based upon the real Hollywood showman William Castle. Oh, I guess this is the guy John Goodman is based on. The character is introduced in a recreation of Castle's famous trademark of a silhouette of him in a director's chair with his head turned in profile with his cigar. His name is a reference to Lawrence Woolner, one of the Woolner brothers whose company Woolner Brothers Pictures distributed sci-fi classics like The Attack of the 50-Foot Woman in 1958. So yeah, great movie, great references, highly recommend it. You said you've never seen Tremors, right?
No, but I've been meaning to.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's definitely one to watch. I don't even really know why I put it on this list instead of the well-known one, because a lot of people know Tremors. It kind of flew under the radar. It's still considered like a cult classic and a cult hit, but I still think it's one of those movies that like people watch. You know, people know Kevin Bacon, but if anyone doesn't know, Tremors is about these like prehistoric slug things that like end up getting unleashed, and they basically terrorize a small town, and you can't do anything but like stand on rocks in order to like defend them off, or like I guess rocks or concrete is what really like works to like keep them at bay. But they'll go through like underground, they'll go through tunnels, or they'll dig tunnels, and they'll kill people and eat people. And they based an entire franchise on this concept, and it's actually pretty good, I'd say, up in from the probably up to the fourth one. I still think the fourth one's really good, but everything after that I've not really been interested in. But they're pretty good movies. S.S. Wilson said that he got the idea for the film while he was working for the U.S. Navy in the California desert. While resting on a rock, he imagined what it might be like if something underground kept him from getting off the rock. So this guy basically played like the floor is lava and was like, I've got an idea for a movie. That's pretty funny. And that kind of makes sense because that's what the whole movie is basically about. You're playing like the floor is lava with these things. Kevin Bacon originally resented being in Tremors, only agreeing to do it because he needed the money for his new marriage and upcoming newborn child. When the film was not financially successful, Bacon feared his career was over, and in the following years would refuse to acknowledge the film's existence and even called it the worst thing I ever did. However, Bacon would eventually come around to Tremors, calling the filming of Tremors to be the single most fun time I've ever had making a movie in my entire career. In 2012, and later admitting in a 2020 interview, when I was making Tremors, I was very depressed and at a low point in my life, and I kind of blame Tremors for all that. I was bitter against it. I thought it was a career killer. I never watched my movies more than once. Some of my movies I've never even seen before and have no desire to. But I've watched Tremors a dozen times. I love it so much. and I spent years trying to capture the same energy we had on the set of Tremors. It's one of my favorite films of all time. That's pretty awesome. That's a complete career opinion turnaround. You know what I mean? Like really like hating on the movie. And then bam, he's just like, yeah, you know what? It wasn't so bad after all. All right. This next one we're probably not going to talk too much about. True story, I actually started watching this movie. I got about halfway through it today, but this movie is a classic, amazing. We talk about it all the time on the pod. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. Can you guess what it is? I'm sure you can.
Evil Dead?
No. We already talked about that one earlier, so we're going to stay away from that one, but good guess. Other one that we talk about all the time that's really fantastic, that I love. I don't think you've seen it yet.
What is it?
It's the movie that I think is a documentary. It's They Live.
Oh.
Yeah, it's an amazing movie. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. I put it on the lesser known list. We might have even put it on the might have even talked about it earlier, honestly. But I think it deserves to be talked about again, if not completely. And it's, I think, one of the movies that any conspiratorial or paranormal or anybody that's into like any kind of woo-woo should watch, because it's kind of like a game breaker. It's kind of like if you watch this and feel a certain type of way about this movie, if you can get through like the half hour, the first slow half hour, and you can get through that and you can pay attention and just devour this crazy movie that may or may not be something that may be happening even in reality, then you'll just come to have just such an experience with this movie. It's amazing, classic. So it's about this drifter named Nada, as in like that's, he's got no name, it's Nada. And he's trying to find work in a really like shattered, depressed society. Like it's at the point where like the entire United States is just in a deep depression, and like it's hard to find like non-union jobs, and it's impossible really. And this one guy is just drifting from town to town, just trying to find jobs and trying to survive. Played by Roddy Piper, famous wrestler. And crazy man, famous crazy man. R.I.P. Roddy Piper. So what ended up happening is he stumbles into a church where there are these weird dudes just kind of, messing around with some like they're messing around with these sunglasses, and Roddy Piper ends up finding these sunglasses, puts them on, and he looks around at like the city, and he discovers that everywhere he looks is subliminal messaging like obey and marry and reproduce and like sleep, eat, sleep, consume, all this kind of stuff, like just telling humanity to basically just stay in line and conform to society. And he looks around and he suddenly starts noticing that these people are just looking wacky like aliens and just like really messed up. Like to quote him, like somebody dipped their head in a fryer, and then like formaldehyde face was another one he said. That's a pretty good one. Basically, he starts uncovering that all these like aliens are like secretly in on it and are basically trying to take over society. Like as soon as he like remarks about one, he looks around and every single one of them in the store just start like creeping up on him and start talking into their like watch about like describing him and shit. Cops end up coming after him and explaining to him that he like stumbled onto something crazy, and he ends up like fighting off the cops because they're aliens. He ends up letting one go, and then he just kind of goes on a rampage with like some guns and shit. It's kind of crazy. It's pretty wild. Especially if you take it out of the context, if you just look at it like it's some random guy that's just walking around with a gun. It just seems so wacky to people that aren't in on it. I mean, I guess that's any movie that's like that, but it's kind of funny when you watch it from that perspective. Like you see people who are just like, this is just some crazy person trying to kill me. You know what I mean? But
yeah, he's just a mass shooter.
Well, exactly. Like from everyone else's perspective, they don't understand that the aliens are taking over. So any real human that sees what he's doing, they're gonna be like, "Oh my God, this is a crazy man just trying to attack random people." But and then he lets random people go, so it's even more like wacky. Like, what the hell is he doing? So all this shit happens. He stumbles on. He ends up getting Keith David to put on the sunglasses after one of the biggest fight scenes of all time. Fight scene where they're just like punching each other, and eventually like they're just exhausted. He puts the sunglasses on and he sees that like it's a society of aliens. They join up with this like rebel group that's fighting off the aliens, and they basically like try to fight back. Where the cell signals coming from that is causing all of them to like shapeshift into humans or like cover their asses basically. I
Yeah.
think
And we've talked before about how obsessed I am with that final scene of that movie.
yeah, you love that you know what, I realized something about it today when I was watching not that
What?
final scene but just in general.
What's that?
So when people are like the reason why they're going off, and maybe this is obvious to anyone that's like watched the movie. I mean, it should be it should have been obvious to me, but it just kind of all clicked with me today. Is that they go to the cell tower in order to disrupt the frequency that would cause them to like be seen by humans, and I realized that it's only a it's some kind of frequency to do with the eyes because when there's a blind priest or preacher, I think it's a priest, at the beginning of the movie, and he says, let me see your he says to Roddy Piper, he goes, "Let me see your face," and he touches his face, and then he goes, "Let me see your hands," and he touches his hands. So it seems to me like it's only affecting the eyes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like a blind man could tell if he
That
touched.
reminds me of Little Nicky, the blind pastor and Little Nicky.
Kinda. That's kinda like the blind bastard, played by Quentin Tarantino. Uh, that was pretty good.
Wait, what?
Yeah, the blind pastor's played by Quentin Tarantino in that movie.
I
You didn't
had
know that?
no idea. That's another reason. Wow. I didn't know that about my favorite Adam Sandler movie.
He's like, evil, evil, pure evil. Yeah, that's Quentin Tarantino. Yeah, so fantastic movies, Little Nicky and They Live. Um, highly recommend both of those to everybody, but especially They Live. Um,
Yes.
so John Carpenter brought real homeless folks into the production for several scenes and smaller characters and gave them food as well as paychecks. He said, "I thought that was a pretty classy thing to do," said Roddy Piper.
Oh yeah. I mean, why not? It's going to help everybody involved.
Yeah, that was awesome. That was a cool thing to do.
Yeah. People should do that more often.
I agree. It was Roddy Piper himself who came up with the now famous one-liner, "I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass, and I'm all out of bubblegum." According to the director John Carpenter, Piper had previously written the line in his notebook of potential verbal bits during his wrestling career. He shared the notebook with Carpenter, and they agreed that this particular line fit the character in the film perfectly. Piper went on to use it at a wrestling match. That's funny. And then finally, the big fight sequence was designed, rehearsed, and choreographed in the backyard of director John Carpenter's production office. The fight between Nada, Roddy Piper, and Frank Keith David was only supposed to last 20 seconds, but Piper and David decided to fight it out for real, only faking the hits to the face and groin. They rehearsed the fight for 3 weeks. Carpenter was so impressed he kept the fight scene intact, which runs
Oh
5 minutes. That's crazy. I didn't know this fact, even though I don't remember this one, which runs 5 minutes, 20 seconds. And years later, on the documentary In Search of Darkness, a journey into iconic 80s horror, David recounted the event, smiling giddily as he said, "It was good fun. I never felt safer in any fight." As Piper, a professional wrestler, coached David on how to sell the look of the punches and savage moves in exaggerated form, making it appear more brutal than it actually was. That's pretty cool. You
Yeah,
can
that's amazing.
It is. You can kind of tell that they're a little more of like exaggerated hits, like wrestler hits, but I think it still lends itself to like the pacing of the movie because it's a scene that literally stops the pacing of the movie in like such a great way. Because you're just like, dude, put on the glasses. You're like thinking about it from Roddy Piper's perspective, but they're just beating the shit out of each other.
Yeah, but it's also like that's two humans just doing what humans do. Like, there's no art. Like, from that fight, you can tell that like this other guy is not an alien.
Well, that's the whole thing of it. This is like the classic. This is why this is a classic in conspiracy lore and conspiracy everything, because the putting on the glasses is a metaphor, much like the Matrix taking the red pill. It's the idea that Roddy Piper was fighting this guy so much to tell him to just do such a simple thing that would just completely just blow his mind and make him see reality for what it is. And he spends a good 5 minutes beating the shit out of this guy, literally, in order to get him to put the glasses on. And that right there is a perfect metaphor for anybody who tries hard to get other people to understand.
And the other side.
What is it?
And the other way around. People who try everything they can to not believe in something so incredible.
Exactly. So like it's the idea of like all these conspiracies are like you're putting on the glasses when you do it, and when you're in the process of doing it and you're fighting it, that's Roddy Piper kicking the shit out of you and telling you to put on the glasses. Classic conspiracy metaphor in media, and I love that. All right. The next movie is a movie that I actually didn't see until really recently, and it's kind of funny. I watched it because we talked there was one time we talked about Isaac Cappy, and I was like I need to watch this movie finally. So I decided to just throw it on and just watch it. It ended up being really good and actually probably my favorite movie of Tom Hanks. And it's funny that it's on the lesser known list, but I really don't ever hear anybody ever talk about this movie ever. And I think it's a cult classic at this point, but it's called The Burbs. It's a movie about Tom Hanks plays just this regular old Joe, and he basically finds out that the new neighbors, I think they're the new neighbors. They may or may not be Satanists. It's pretty funny. Like they go next door and like there's a sign that says 9 and they ring the doorbell or knock or something like that and it flips down to 6. Real funny shit like that.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah, that's a classic thing, I think, but I think that's probably, you may have even seen this movie, honestly. It's one of those movies when I watched it, I feel like I watched it before, but I just didn't know it. You know
Which
what
one?
I mean?
What's the movie?
Called The Burbs.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds so familiar.
It's got Tom Hanks, and he's got this this dude Rick Ducommun.
I've never seen this movie. I would remember that.
Tom Hanks like walks around in a robe and like pajamas and tries to like find out if his neighbors are Satanists.
Crazy.
Yeah, highly recommend people watch that movie, but it's pretty good.
They should remake that.
It honestly would make a really good idea for like a movie now. I forgot who made the movie, but I think it was somebody famous. I think Carrie Fisher's in this movie too. I think she plays like the wife of Tom Hanks. Yeah, we probably don't really got to talk about the. Oh, hold on. We probably don't really got to talk about the Burbs too much. It's you know, you don't have to watch that movie because you don't have to give any money to Tom Hanks. You know, that's just my perspective. And if you're gonna watch the movie, try to find an easy way to watch it.
You don't like Tom Hanks?
I mean, he might have killed Cappy.
Wait, you think so?
Well, that's what one of the theories is. Well, let's not get into this right now.
Let's circle back.
Yeah. But yeah, Tom Hanks, interesting guy. Maybe like a Satanist in real life or something. But watch The Burbs; it's interesting. He's trying to find Satanists. The trivia, real quick though, for The Burbs, right? So the film was shot in sequence and was filmed during the writer's strike of 1988. The film was rushed into the film was rushed into production to avoid a Writers Guild of America's WGA strike. Principal photography began the same day the strike went into effect, May 19, 1988. Although Dana Olson, the writer, appeared in the film, he was prohibited from contributing anything to the script while on set. For this reason, Joe Dante, I forgot he directed this too. Joe Dante encouraged the actors to improvise many scenes. One example was the moment when Rumsfeld rips the Klopex wallpaper, an idea from Bruce Dern. Rick Ducommun ad-libbed many of his lines, including the Satan is good, Satan is our pal dialogue. That's pretty funny. Tom Hanks and Carrie, Satan is good, Satan is our pal. That's how he talks, so that's pretty funny. Tom Hanks and Carrie Fisher came up with the idea of playing along with Jeopardy 1984 at home. And then this is kind of interesting because these guys are supposed to play best friends in the movie. And it's funny that this is how it was. Tom Hanks and Rick Ducommun really didn't get along during the filming, according to Joe Dante. But Hanks was a professional and kept it loose. That's pretty interesting. I can understand those two not getting along, though, because Rick Ducommun had like a B-movie Chris Farley feel about him, if that makes sense. I don't know if that's an insult to Rick Ducommun, but I would consider that to be like a pretty high bar to
he
to
just
set
wasn't
for somebody.
serious enough.
That's kind of what I'm saying. Like he had almost kind of a cokehead energy too, Rick Ducommun. I don't know if he did coke or not, but he did have like that kind of like big guy cokehead energy. If you saw who I was talking about too, I think you'd recognize him from movies. All right, next up. This movie, this might be probably one of the most famous on this list, honestly. People listening to this might not even consider this a lesser known movie, but I would consider this a B movie still in its own right. And honestly, a lot of these movies are just going to be B movies that are just really good. I think you and I went over this, is that to me, this list is going to be tiered out. Like there may be three possible lists that I make. The first one was the horror movie list that we went over. This one is going to be basically like a B movie and kind of like surface level grindhouse movies, like kind of like the B and C movies. And if I do end up making a third list, it's just going to be straight up like crazy, like D and E and F movies, just like Z movie, like trauma and like movies that people are just like. There's even a trauma movie in this list, actually. I think I put Nuke 'Em High in this list. So there is some trauma in here. But when I say like the third list is just gonna be stuff from like the 60s, like the 1970s, I Drink Your Blood, or 1968, I think The Devil Rides Out. Stuff like that. Stuff that most people have probably never even heard of. I would say, unless they're really into like crazy old like grindhouse movies and crazy like B movies, and or just like not even B but just like D movies, stuff like that. Just to get everybody up to speed. But that was the really long introduction to the movie Terrifier. Maniac named Art the Clown terrorizes two friends on Halloween and everyone who gets in his way. So now, hopefully, I think I've started putting in the synopsises so I don't have to explain the story to people. Yeah. Terrifier is a great movie, right? You've seen it, right? That's one you've
Never.
seen. No? All right.
No.
Well, I'll be honest.
I think I've only seen like one or two of the movies on this list.
I mean, so far, there's going to be other ones. There might be some. There might be some that you've seen. But honestly, like this is like B movies, so don't feel bad if you haven't seen I guarantee you like 90% of the listeners,
It may be B movie, but it's pretty mainstream right now.
I guess B movies are kind of mainstream. I
Just
spent
Terrifier.
years.
No, I specifically Terrifier.
Oh, Terrifier.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, this is probably the most well-known movie on this list, I think, at this point.
Yeah.
You know, yay or nay, right? I would say yeah.
Yeah.
But and that's good because Terrifier, I think, is like it's kind of like it's the newest like classic slasher, I would say. You know what I'm saying? Like in 20
Yeah.
years, this is gonna go the way of like Michael Myers and all that shit.
Well, we haven't had like a real sadistically happy villain like that since, at least from what I've seen, of the
Chucky.
promotional since. Well, I guess yeah, Chucky. But yeah, I'll give it to Chucky. I was thinking Freddy.
Yeah, I would say Chucky. Because that
I don't like
Chucky was
Chucky
probably the
though. I
last
fucking
one.
hate Chucky.
You fucking hate Chucky. Why? What's wrong with Chucky?
It's just like not entertaining to watch. I hate
think
watching
he's
this little doll do anything.
I think they just don't really know how. You know, I think what they did later on with the Chucky movies really was where Chucky shined when they took
Really?
him less seriously. Yeah, when he became more of like not a joke, but like more of like a funnier character. I think
Yeah,
that's
he's
when
like
Chucky
he's
was
cracking
better.
jokes.
What'd you
Not for
say?
me. He's just not for me. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I mean, I get that. I get that. Um, but yeah, Art the Clown, funny guy. Here's a couple of facts about Art the Clown, or the movie, I should say. David Howard Thornton, who portrays Art the Clown, has previous mime experience, which he utilizes in his performance. And that makes total sense. Honestly, knowing
Yeah.
that, it kind of makes total sense with that movie. Because, like, he just walks around and he does, like, really quiet shit, but, like, does it with such, like, expression that it makes sense. David Howard Thornton was the sixth person who auditioned for Art the Clown after Mike Gianelli retired from the role and acting altogether. During the audition, he began miming tasting his beheaded victim's blood, but then added salt to it to improve its flavor. This is what won him the role. That's pretty funny.
I think it'd be fun, and this is like the same idea that we talked about with other movies, like the Tom Holland idea for James Bond.
Oh, I
But
love that idea.
it could also work as like a horror movie version / spoof of the Joker movie. Just make this whole movie from the point of view of this guy who either you know or you don't. If you don't go the Tom Holland route, it's you don't know. But it's okay if you do know, like in the Joker, that this guy is Arthur Clown, and you're watching him become Arthur Clown. I don't know what Arthur Clown is, so like this again, I'm just outside of this. Maybe that's
I
impossible.
don't.
Arthur Clown isn't a person; he's a demon. I don't know.
I was just gonna say I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure Art the Clown is like a demon.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, I think he's some kind of like demonic entity, like something like that.
That's cool.
Yeah. But I'm not 100% sure. Don't quote me on that, everybody. But I'm pretty sure. I'm like 80%, I would say. And here's here's just a quick little fact. The ambulance that drives past Dawn as she listens to the radio broadcast in the car was unplanned. That was a real ambulance that drove by. And that's pretty funny because that's just like a random eerie part of the movie. All right. This movie is one of my personal favorite movies of all time. I don't even know if you'd call it a lesser known movie. I think it's considered pretty lesser known because I would say 60% of the people that I recommend this movie, they've never seen it or have not even heard of it. And I think it's one of the best. I would say it's a horror movie, but one of the best under the radar horror thriller movies of say the last 10 to maybe even going so far as to say 15 years, even. It's one of my personal favorites. I've told you about this movie a lot, actually. At least I think I have. I just recommend everyone out there to watch this movie because it's really fucking good. Highly recommend it. It's called Ready or Not. It's about a bride's wedding night takes a sinister turn when her eccentric new in-laws force her to take part in a terrifying game. And that's kind of vague about it, but essentially it's about this like really rich family that like made all their money in like a Mattel Hasbro like kind of way, like making board games in like the 1800s and like card games and shit like that going into like the 90s and shit. Oh, sorry, the 1900s and shit.
Yeah.
And they basically got their fortune by making a deal with this guy named Mr. LaBelle or LaBelle or something like that. He's essentially like this really enigmatic, like evil figure. And they basically told him that every time they got married to somebody, they had to play like a game. And part of the game is that they would have to play like I think it was hide and seek was the actual game. And it was the bride had to run around like the whole night for like from dusk till dawn basically, and had to like hide from the family of the groom because they were trying to hunt her down and kill her and sacrifice her to this LaBelle character.
Is LaBelle Bow?
I think LaBelle is basically like just like a satanic personification. Like you could take him as like Baal or Baal or like a bunch of different things, but like he's basically when you see him, he looks just like Satan. He's got like
Cool.
that, like, you know what I mean? That like classic, like satanic top hat kind of look. It's cool. The whole family, they made the deal where they had to win the game before sunrise. And that was like part of the deal is that anybody who gets married, they have to like choose like a game out of like this list of games. I don't think it's even set in stone either, too. Like there's a chance when they marry into the family that they click a card and it's something innocuous like poker or something like that. You know what I mean? It's not always hide and seek. Hide and seek's just one of the options, but it's also the one that like where they actually have to like seek out and kill the bride, if that makes sense, in this situation. And if they don't do that before like dawn, what ends up happening is
It'd be funny if she gets away until dawn. They're just like, all right, you get to marry him now.
well, that's what you
And then
initially
she's just
think.
like, no.
Is that's what you initially think is that like she just has to survive until dawn and then there's not going to be any issue that like everything's going to be hunky dory. But as like the movie goes on, like you start to realize that there's some stipulations where with if she like survives till dawn. I'm not going to say what happens or like what the ending of the movie
So she
is,
doesn't
'cause
realize how sinister it is when this game starts.
Exactly. She thinks it's just hide and seek. She goes and starts hiding in like the dumbwaiter, and all of a sudden she notices like they're walking around with like guns and like crossbows and shit. So like she's starting to like, and they accidentally shoot the help too a few times, which is hilarious.
So she sees them murder people and she knows like, oh shit.
Yeah,
This is fucked up.
exactly. And she sees like her boyfriend like going along with it, like basically like trying to like deal with this shit. I should also tell everybody like two actors that are in this movie because they're two of my like I think in if you see these two actors in movies, they're usually pretty good movies. One is the star Samara Weaving. I think she's a fantastic actor in her own right. She was in the latest Scream movie. She was also in another one of the movies that's in this list. I'm not going to spoil it because it might even be the next movie. It's a really good movie that I like a lot as well. Another guy that's in this movie, Adam Brody. If anybody doesn't know, Adam Brody is a fantastic comedic actor. He was in the
Yeah.
Shazam movies. Yeah, you know who Adam Brody is.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's hilarious. He was in Jennifer's Body too. He was one of the the guy's in Jennifer's body that sacrifices her to Satan. But Adam Brody's awesome. Here's some trivia facts about Ready or Not. 17 different versions of Grace's wedding dress were created by costume designer Avery Plews to show the progress of Grace's night and how her clothes correspond to her attitude. They get like all tattered up and like destroyed, and like she starts getting like a tactical look and shit. It's pretty crazy. A lot of the film was filmed at Casa Loma in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. It is a designated heritage property and is a museum that is open to the public. You can take tours of the building and team about its history, and you can even walk through some of its secret passages. Now, here's why I chose to put this trivia fact in, because when I was watching the movie, especially the very, very end, I noticed something about this building. I was like, where do I recognize this building from? And I realized there were two movies that I recognized this building from. And they might say it later on. Oh yeah, they do. So I'll just say I'll just combine these two facts, but it's Crimson Peak is one of the movies, and The Pacifier, which I didn't recognize this place from those movies, but I did from the X-Men. If you watch this, it looks just like the fucking X Mansion. It's hilarious.
Wow.
Yeah. And there's one other place that when I saw it too, I was like, holy shit. I recognize this from this place too, is Billy Madison. It's the same fucking mansion from Billy Madison, which is hilarious because I didn't realize the X Mansion and the Billy Madison mansion were the same place. You know what I'm talking about?
Wait, what?
Yeah, the X Mansion and the Billy Madison mansion are the same place. They were the same filming locations, apparently.
How many other movies have used this mansion?
Well, it was at least Crimson Peak and The Pacifier, so that's at least like 4 movies. But I'm sure there's been a lot of movies that shot here. Oh, and Ready or Not, so that's at least 5. I'm sure we're going to go through and find other movies that are shot in this location just in this list. But like, oh shit, that's the place too. Samara Weaving had to be taught how to drive, or at least how to look like she's driving. That's funny. And she probably comes from a rich family. I'm going to throw that out there. For anyone that doesn't know, Samara Weaving is the niece of Hugo Weaving, the famous actor from Lord of the Rings and Red Skull fame. He played the original Red Skull.
Interesting.
Yeah, this is his niece, which is funny because she doesn't look like his niece. If anything, she looks like Margot Robbie. And that comes into one of the other facts on here. They submitted nearly 200 fictional board game names, but only 8 or so were cleared by the legal department. That's not the fact. I was just going to run through them real quick. They only had 5 candelabras, so they had to keep moving them around to populate rooms and hallways where needed. And then Grace's yellow Chuck Taylor sneakers were actually custom painted for the film, as Converse no longer made that color. Where is it? Within Levian Satanism, the term Shemhaim Forish is used during rituals as outlined in the Satanic Bible. The term is essentially an equivalent to hallelujah, in the sense that it is taken to mean hail Satan when used in this context, to corroborate with the Levian Satanism objective of satirizing traditional religious practice. So they actually use that phrase in the movie. There's a lot of like Levian satanic like imagery in the movie. The Babysitter is the next movie. And the fact that I thought I added it into that one, but apparently Margot Robbie I thought was being considered for Ready or Not too. I could be mistaken about that, but like I think it was even considered when they were casting like the role for Grace's character. They wanted a character that kind of looked like Margot Robbie, so they went with Samara Weaving. So interesting little
tidbit. You get Elle
there.
Fanning.
Well, I think she was young in this. This was 2017.
Yeah, I thought you said for a second one.
Oh yeah, they could do a second one. I'm sure. Honestly, I would love a second to this movie. Like it doesn't need a second movie, but it's one of those types of movies that I enjoy a lot.
Dude, I want to see a second one, even though I've never watched the first one.
Even though,
it's Elle Fanning.
You should watch the first
I will.
one.
And she's dealing with a very similar thing because it's just something that these secret satanic families do.
They do mention in the movie there's other families that are basically doing similar shit.
All right,
they said
exactly.
Remember what happened to such and such family as a way to be like, hey, we got to get this done. So you're on to something. There could be like this could be franchised. That could totally like they could franchise this idea.
They should make a second one with Elle Fanning, and she's going through a very similar thing. It's new and exciting. New, like maybe not even maybe instead of hide and go. So you think it would have to be hide and go seek?
Yeah, it would
Or
have
could-
to be because that's the whole thing.
Because Ready or Not.
Yeah, they could call it "Here I Come,"
Here I come.
or they could make a separate idea that's similar to it called "Here I Come."
They could even just think of a different children's game, call it a whole new title that's not related to hide and seek, but then it is in the same universe.
You're it. Call it "You're It." A deadly
That's
game
just
of
another
tag.
That's more tag, right?
Yeah. So it's like a slasher with tag. They kind of did like that tag movie with like John Cena or whatever, right? Or am I confusing that?
I don't think John Cena's in that.
Or Jeremy Renner, he's in that
He is.
for some inexplicable reason.
At some point in this movie, Elle Fanning should be about to die, and then Samara Weaving shows up and just like murders the family in a very satisfying way.
She shoots him with a shotgun and says, "Tag, you're it."
Tag, you're it.
And then that's the tagline of the movie and the ending. And she picks up Ellie Fanning and they have to get out of there and kill the rest of the satanic panic family. All right.
Next movie.
The Babysitter. This is another Samara Weaving movie. I think it's the only other one in this list. When Cole stays up past his bedtime, he discovers that his babysitter belongs to an evil cult that will stop at nothing and keep him quiet. Highly recommend this movie. It's basically Home Alone with Satanists. It's awesome. It's really, really good. This kid basically fights off this group of like high school Satanists. And yeah, it's fantastic. Highly recommend everyone watch it. I can't really say much more honestly about this movie because it's just it's like that.
There's a sequel, right?
Yeah, it actually has Jenna Ortega, I think, in it. So watch it. Good. It's basically the same plot over again, but the kid's in like high school now. But that's all it is though, is just Home Alone with Satanists instead, like with a satanic babysitter instead of robbers. That's really what it is. So if you want that kind of vibe, watch the movie. I actually I don't really like Home Alone that much, so I kind of stayed away from this movie, but I watched it because I watched Ready or Not. And I was like, it kind of gave me like a similar vibe, but I was like, oh, this movie's fucking great. It's funny too. It's actually really, really funny. The jock in the movie, he's actually plays, I think, Freddy in one of the Scooby-Doo reboots, but he's really funny in it, like hilarious. So is the whoever the popular chick is too. I forgot what her name is too, but she's funny in it too. It kind I bet you would like it because it kind of plays up kind of like the Cabin in the Woods, how that plays up on like
I've seen this movie.
you've seen this movie? Do you
Yeah.
like it? Because I feel like you would. It plays up on like the tropes of horror movies and kind of flips them on their head.
I think it's interesting because it does have that Home Alone feel. And I almost feel like it would have been more successful if they made it a little bit more for kids in a way. Like, because we
Yeah.
remember like spooky stuff for kids. I'm not saying they should have. I just think it would have been more popular if they did. This is also weird watching it. I'm like, yeah, it's from the point of view of this kid, but like everything that happens is like pretty fucked up.
Oh yeah, it
Fucked up
is.
enough. It's not like over the top, but
It's over the top enough though. Like
it could have
Yeah.
it could have been in a way scarier, in a way, if they made it more kid friendly too. If it was like the audience would be more like with this kid in this journey and actually like more scared for him because it's a little silly and it could still be like, you know what I'm saying? Like it could have been.
I know what you mean. I feel like they were trying to like. So I feel like they understood the fact that the premise was really silly and it's kind of like a classic like premise, like, oh, babysitter's actually like a Satanist. Like it's not maybe not classic, but it's like an obvious premise. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think what they do is they kind of take it and they run with it and kind of ramp it up to its like logical extremes. If like the babysitter was actually like a satanic like witch, basically. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
I think they kind of they ramped it up so much that it kind of lends itself to the wackiness
Yeah, it
of the
is. It is
idea.
like Home Alone. It's just
Yeah. But
Home
even
Alone,
beyond
but
that, like,
fucked
yeah,
up.
I didn't even think about that because even like the robbers in Home Alone are like caricatures of like
Yeah,
robbers. Like they're
all
like,
the characters in that movie were pretty funny. I don't think there was too much serious shit, except for when like you're like, oh no, is the kid gonna die? But it's like either way, this movie's so ridiculous that like
oh
I'm not
yeah.
too worried about it.
Do you mean which one are you talking about? Home Alone
I
or the
guess
Babysitter?
both.
I was gonna say that it almost it felt like you were talking about one or the other.
I was talking
But
about the babysitter.
I was gonna say I thought you were talking about Home Alone. I was gonna say even in the part with Home Alone, like when one of the robbers touches like electrical equipment, it shows his like skull and shit. And when he
Yeah.
gets zapped, that's like very cartoonish. It's not like serious at all. So like they kind of just probably ramped that up for the babysitter to kind of like do a similar vibe. I bet you
Mm.
there's if we look into it, there is something where this movie was supposed to be like more kid friendly originally, but they ended up like ramping it up because of the director or writer or something.
I'll leave it at I think it should have. I think it should have been a little bit more kid friendly, but at the same time scarier and a little bit more serious.
You know what I think? You know what I agree with you. And the movie that I keep thinking about in my head that kind of would fit that vibe is the movie called The Witches from like the 90s or whatever, where
Hmm.
this kid like stumbles upon like a coven of witches and like they all like morph into like these evil, haggard looking like witches. And it feels very frightening, but it's still like a PG movie. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
You know what I feel like this movie though feels like The Babysitter more so than even Ready or Not. This movie reminds me a lot of Scout's Guide to the Zombie Apocalypse. And maybe you'd probably maybe who knows, maybe you'd say the same thing about that movie. It's I think it's PG-13, but it actually could be rated R.
I've never seen it.
It's fantastic, but we talked about this one before. A zombie movie where these kids basically have to use like their scout skills and have to fight off like a bunch of zombies and shit, and they end up going to like they go to like a strip club and shit because it's like the town's like desolate, so they decide to like take advantage of that. All of a sudden they start realizing that there's like zombies all over the place, and it's a great movie, but I think it kind of fits in with the babysitter vibe. It might even be a little more adult than the babysitter movie, but it's pretty great. Kind of it would be like a good double feature. I bet you if I go
Yeah.
to IMDb and go to Scout's Guide to the Zombie Apocalypse, this is one of the recommendations for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In the original script, Sonia was the cheerleader, Ellison was a journalist for the school paper, and John was called John the Baptist, and Max had dreadlocks. The characters were later reimagined to more closely reflect stereotypes of slasher movie victims. Only in this film, they're the antagonists. So that's what I was saying about like how it kind of flips the stereotypes on its head, and it
Yeah.
makes like the typical people who would get killed in the movie to be the bad guys.
And that's why it's a good companion to watch with Cabin in the Woods.
That is true. Exactly. That's also what I was thinking too. It is a good companion with that one. The revelation of Allison's desire to become a journalist was kept from the original concept of her character. Only now it's much more human. This screenplay for the film was featured on the 2014 Blacklist, a list of the most liked unproduced screenplays of the year. And then the spiders in the basement are Mexican red knee and the same species of tarantula used in Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Oh, that's fun.
Have you watched Mandy with Nick Cage?
No.
I think you would like this movie. Like seriously, like there's this is one of those movies that kind of fits your vibe.
Tell me about it.
So Nick Cage plays this guy. I think it takes place in like the 1980s or 70s. I think it's the 80s. And he plays this like logger or like just this like guy out in the woods. And he's got this girlfriend named Mandy. And these weird satanic um acid drug doing but acid dropping like psychedelic satanists, they like spot her and they decide to use her they spot her and decide to use her in I guess like their ritual that they're doing. And what they end up doing is they kidnap her. So Nick Cage ends up going out on like a revenge spree against these like crazy satanic like demon worshipping like cult members. And he like wields like a chainsaw and like body armor and shit, and it's pretty cool. And he fights off demons with a chainsaw. He has like a chainsaw battle with like these weird crazy demon things. And one of my favorite parts is he chugs a thing of vodka like in order to get ready to fight.
This movie sounds amazing.
Oh, it's awesome.
I want to see this. You don't have the stream up yet.
I'm gonna put it up right now.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna keep it up anyways too, so you can see what movies we're going through. I might play some clips. This is the scene. There's more. He like chugs the vodka and shit too. They didn't really show it, but yeah.
Look
He
at the
goes
top
crazy.
comment.
What was it?
Look at the top comment.
That's pretty close to how I spend my Friday evenings. That's pretty relatable. But yeah, it's a great movie. It's pretty insane. Yeah, you would love it, honestly. He fights off demons. It's got all the like the good shit. The synopsis is the enchanted lives of a couple in a secluded forest are brutally shattered by a nightmarish hippie cult and their demon biker henchmen propelling a man into a spiraling surreal rampage of vengeance. Yeah, you should definitely write this one down as like one of your next movies to watch. It's really good.
I'll remember it. I still have to watch Long Legs, also with Nick Cage.
Yeah, I still have to watch that too. I didn't even know Nick Cage was in that, so there we go. That's funny. That makes me a horrible movie fan, I think, to not know that. I heard that one was pretty good. So here's the trivia for Mandy. In a 2018 UK Guardian interview, Nick Cage described his performance as inspiration. Only just before shooting started, his 14-year marriage to Alice Kim Cage came to a sudden end, which was a shocker for me. Didn't see it coming, and those feelings had to go somewhere, so they went into my performance. Which, from that clip that we just watched, I think you can definitely see that in his performance. Actor Richard Brake, who plays the chemist, revealed on Twitter in December 2018 that in an early draft of the script, the Cage Bengal tiger Lizzie was a lizard. Brake recounted that when he arrived on set, director Panos Cosmatos said, "Oh, by the way, Lizzie's a tiger now." And according to co-writer Aaron Stewart when he and Panos Cosmatos presented Mandy at the Cannes Film Festival, Cosmatos described it as a film about the death of his parents. And I kind of wanted to add that last fact in because if I'm not mistaken, the guy's dad, the one that he's talking about, this guy Panos Cosmatos, his parents, or at least his dad, was a famous director of like grindhouse and B movies. Funny enough, I think he, if I'm not mistaken, he directed the third Rambo movie, but I could be wrong about that. He directed one of the Rambo movies, definitely. But interesting, it's in the blood. All right. This next movie we can just kind of skate through. I watched this movie this year, or last year, and I wasn't too into it, which is funny. Like we talked about, like how I prefer like werewolf movies versus vampire movies, and honestly, this was like the werewolf movie that I was not that into out of all of the werewolf movies. It's called The Howling. If I'm not mistaken, this is directed by Joe Dante too. Probably my least favorite movie of his, but that's just because I love every single one of his other movies, and this one was just kind of like eh. And I probably should have paid attention to it more. I kind of feel like I have paid attention to it because it didn't grip me like it should have. But after a bizarre and near deadly encounter with a serial killer, a television newswoman is sent to a remote mountain resort whose residents may not be what they seem. And yeah, they're all they're all werewolves. Spoiler alert, all the residents of
Cool.
this mountain resort. Yeah. And there's even honestly one of the coolest parts of the whole movie is when they're getting chased and like you see all of the residents or all the people that are at this resort like gathered together all like werewolves, and they all look like kind of like American Werewolf in London type werewolves, so like really crazy like gnarly looking ones,
Yeah.
and they're just like crowding around getting together, and it's just like it's fucking frightening. But it you know, I probably, you don't have to watch this movie, but it's definitely one of those movies that's worth one watch. So here's the trivia facts too for it. Rick Baker was originally doing the special effects for this movie, but he left to do an American Werewolf in London. That's funny. Leaving the effects jobs for this movie in the hands of assistant Rob Botton. Both
At least
this movie,
now we know why they look so similar.
well, exactly. So that makes sense too. Like Rick Baker probably had like the setup for American Werewolf in London, like the look of the werewolf, and Rob Botton like from the concept art and shit, and he probably introduced that to the idea of an American Werewolf in London. And Rob Botton probably just expanded on that. Because if you look too, like American Werewolf in London is more dog-like in its appearance, but like the Howling, they're more like upright humanoid, like actual like what you think of with werewolves.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess it's interchangeable for me. Like I feel like a werewolf can be on all fours or be upright if it wants to.
No, I agree. And that's that's the only thing I don't like with American Werewolf in London is it looks almost more animalistic than it should. Or maybe that's not true. Maybe it should look more animalistic, but like it's not like one that could walk upright, I feel like. Or
Yeah.
I don't remember it walking upright, and if it does, it's barely like walks upright. Maybe when it gets shot and shit. But that was good movie though. American Werewolf in London. That's my favorite of the two, of the Howling and the I'm definitely more into that one, but I would say that's not an unpopular opinion.
I feel like I've only ever seen like one or two werewolf movies. But there's so many out there. I had no idea.
There is a lot out there. There's honestly there's a lot of cool like B movie and grindhouse movies that are werewolf movies. Like there's like there's like werewolf Nazi movies. There's werewolf biker movies. There's this wicked crazy werewolf biker movie that I want to watch that is literally just about a group of bikers that are also werewolves. And it's from like the 60s and it just seems crazy, or the 70s. There is a lot of werewolf movies though.
Sounds like Lost Boys.
Well, it is kind of like Lost Boys. And yeah, it is. I never thought about that. For them, they're just like, let's make Easy Rider combined with werewolves. And then for somebody else, they're just like, oh, you guys, we should make Lost Boys, and it should be vampires and random outcasts and biker types. Nobody's ever done it before.
They're like, let's make Dog Boys.
Let's make Dog Boys. The guys in the 60s want to make Dog Boys. The guys in the 90s want to make the Lost Boys. Because of their work in this movie, Joe Dante and Michael Fennell received the opportunity to make the movie Gremlins for Steven Spielberg. That movie references the Howling with a smiley face image on a refrigerator door. Eddie Quist leaves his yellow smiley face stickers as his calling card in several places all through this movie. Also, James Mackerel's character as news reporter Lou Landers appears in both The Howling and Gremlins, which suggests both movies share the same universe. That's crazy. I didn't know that one. That's kind of cool.
Damn, that's really cool.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Yeah. That is a fun one.
When are they going to pick that up again, you know?
I think they're in talks to do Gremlins again. I heard that they were working on like a mini series or something as like a third movie, but then I heard that they were gonna make a third movie. So who
Are they
knows?
going to expand the universe?
That would be cool.
Howling, werewolves versus gremlins.
Werewolves versus Gremlins. That would be pretty sick, honestly. That would be like the shit. I would love that. Yeah, werewolves versus people would be like, this came out of nowhere. And Lou Landers would be like, no, I saw this coming. I reported on both of these incidents. You
There's a
people should
line
have
that
been
happens. No, it's like I think in Twin Peaks there's actually a line where like they say like, oh, in this many years, like you hear about this, or like this is when this will happen, and like 20, I think it was like 26 years, and 26 years later, it did come back, which is crazy to like actually come back at the exact time that something was set up. And maybe that wasn't even intentional, but maybe it was.
Well, yeah, that is cool. Like how they,
Imagine
yeah,
there's like a
I know what
scene
you mean.
in Gremlins where they're like, yeah, man, 30 years from now, who knows what the world's going to be like?
That's yeah, and I feel like
Actually,
they've
it's been
done
like
that in other
4. How long
movies.
has it been?
It's been since Gremlins 1 or 2. I would say the second one, it's been almost 40 years. It's been probably over 40 years since the first one, but I'm not positive. 1984, so it's been 41 years for Gremlins 1, and I'm pretty
Time
sure it
keeps
was a
on slipping. Do you remember where you were when that came out? Isn't that crazy?
yeah, man, that was a crazy era for me. It was Reagan and crack. A lot of crazy shit happened around that time.
That was my crack Reagan era.
That was my crack Reagan era. So the next movie is we actually kind of talked about this off air. Well, I mean we were technically on air, but we weren't recording yet. And this was a movie I told you that I think you should watch also because it kind of has like Evil Dead kind of vibes, but like Irish Evil Dead vibes.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's fantastic. It's again, it's one of my favorite movies of like probably the horror genre specifically. It's called The Lair of the White Worm. And for anyone who hears that name, do not let it throw you off. Do not like I mean, yeah, it's a terrible name, but honestly, it's an amazing movie. It's got a very off-putting name, but it's a great movie.
Is it not? You said it's like Irish.
Yeah, so it's either Irish or Scottish, but I think it's Irish. It's
So
about
like,
yeah,
isn't worm just interchangeable with dragon to them?
I think so. I think that's part of the mythos too, is that she's essentially like this like dragon worm lady. I think the thing even like
Worm's
breathes
cool.
fire. And it's kind of like snake-like too. It's there's a lot of similarities. I feel like this movie, even though I said it kind of has Evil Dead vibes, I think this movie's a good pairing with From Dusk Till Dawn, as weird as that is. And the reason why I say that is because she's essentially like a serpent like vampire. This this woman who's like this countess in this movie. She's essentially like a centuries old like serpent. They call it the white worm. It was this essentially like this huge white worm that was like a big vampire, and I guess she is either the white worm in disguise or something like that. I don't know. It's something crazy, but she's essentially a vampire. And Hugh Grant, his his ancient ancestor was like during like King Arthur times was like this crazy noble knight that fought off the original White Worm, which is actually the real one, but they don't realize that. They just think it's like a second coming. But it's pretty great. This is definitely one you should watch, though. You and the listeners.
Yeah. No, I know. I should check it out.
If anybody's like keeping track of like the ones that I highly recommend to everybody, not you and everybody. I mean, to you, I would say for the most part, I would say Mandy and this movie are the two ones that I would recommend the most. To the listeners, I would say They Live, Night of the Creeps, and Ready or Not, and this one, Lair of the White Worm. Those are probably my favorites of the list so far. But
Not
here's
Mandy.
not well, I like Mandy, but it's I mean, it's not my vibe, but I definitely appreciate what it is. I think it's more your vibe. That's why
Definitely.
I would recommend it to you personally.
Definitely.
Here's a couple of facts about the lair of the white worm. The mouth of the white worm, Dianon, seen in the tunnel towards the end of the movie, was actually a painted over Volkswagen Beetle hood that bears an uncanny resemblance to the mouth of a snake. That's kind of funny. When I found that out, I was just like, oh, that makes total sense with how the creature looks at the end. The Diampton worm is an obvious reference to the Lambton worm, which is a real English legend dating back at least to the medieval period. So this is probably what we were just talking about. This is probably the dragon. Let's see. Yeah, this is about a dragon. The story revolves around John Lambton, an heir of the Lambton estate. The story states that the young John Lambton was a rebellious character who missed the church one Sunday to go fishing in the River Ware. In many versions of the story, while walking the river or setting up his equipment, John receives warnings from an old man or a witch, depending on who tells the story, that no good can come from missing church. John Lambton does not catch anything until the church service finishes, at which point he fishes out a small eel or a lamprey-like creature with 9 holes on each side of its salamander-like head. Depending on the version of the story, the worm is no bigger than a thumb or about 3 feet long. In some rendition, it has legs, while in others it is said more closely to resemble a snake. At this point, the old man returns, although in some versions it is a different character. John declares that he has caught the devil, and decides to dispose of his catch by discarding it down a nearby well. The old man then issues further warnings about the nature of the beast. You know what's really funny about this is this is the plot of the movie. Like this is actually the real plot of the movie that they end up making. Like this is how the movie goes. Like the
Yeah.
guy tells the story of his great ancestor who does exactly that. Like finds this like thing and throws it down a well. So that's kind of funny. This is kind of a funny little fact about this guy, too. John then forgets about the creature and eventually grows up. As a penance for his rebellious early years, he joins the Crusades. What?
Well, good for him, you know?
Well, good for him. And eventually the worm grows extremely large and becomes poisonous. The villagers start to notice livestock going missing and discover that the fully grown worm has emerged from the well and coiled itself around a local hill. Earlier, the local versions of the legend associate the hill with Worm Hill in Fatfield. In most versions of the story, the worm is large enough to wrap itself around the hill 7 times, and it is said that one can still see the marks of the worm on Worm Hill. All right. That's cool. So that's some little bit of context for that movie. Next movie. Have you seen Phantasm? I feel like you've seen Phantasm.
No.
I just watched this movie for the first time like a week or two ago. It was pretty good, honestly. It was better than I expected because like I tried watching it before and then I just didn't like it too much, but I also tried watching and I realized I had the Spanish version at one point. So like I got kind of annoyed with trying to watch it at one point, you know? Not because it was in Spanish, just because like I had no way to watch it like and pay like good attention to it.
You hate the Spanish language.
You hate the Spanish? No, no. Uh anyways, moving on.
Moving on.
Phantasm. Newly orphaned teenager Mike Pearson, his older brother Jody, and their friends face off against a mysterious grave robber known as the Tall Man, who employs a lethal arsenal of unearthly weapons in their Southern California town. And you know what I realized about this movie when I was watching it? Is this movie has like almost virtually the same plot as the overarching story of Stranger Things. I don't mean that in the sense that like Stranger Things, everybody looks at it as like, you know, it's about like some experiments on kids that like go wrong and then they travel to another dimension, yada yada, or one of them does, and that one gets corrupted by it or something like that. That's actually the thing that I thought related a lot to this movie is in the movie, this guy, the tall man, apparently he's like this like late 1800s or something like that, like dude who figured out how to like go into like another dimension or something like that. I had to look up the lore to this because I was like, what the fuck is this movie about? Because even after I watched it, it doesn't really tell you what it's about because there's like other movies in the line of it that like kind of go into what he's all about later on. And I guess what he is like in the 1800s, he found a way to like go to this other dimension, this almost mystical dimension, and it's on another planet or something like that. And I guess what it is on this other planet, like gravity's smaller and shit, so he ends up kidnapping people and like turning them into he ends up kidnapping people and turning them into goblins, so to speak, like little goblins. He like shrinks them down and like turns them into like his personal slaves and like makes them like do things for him. And I guess that's like to make them so they can go into this other planet or dimension or whatever and do his bidding. So he like figured out how to harness like the power of this other dimension, and he sort of like came back over here in order to try and further his own ambitions. And that to me is a lot like Stranger Things. That's the part that I was like, oh, this is kind of like what the vibe of Stranger Things is. If you know about Vecna, for anybody listening, Vecna's like the guy, I guess, in the other dimension or whatever that got corrupted by the upside down. He's essentially like what I would say the tall man is, for anyone that's curious of where I'm drawing the comparisons.
Are you excited for the new season of Stranger Things?
I'll be honest, I just watched it for the first time recently, like ever. And yeah, I just got like all caught up. I think it's really good.
You know what my
I'm
thoughts are on the show?
What are your thoughts?
I think the show is amazing in the first season, like truly one of the best seasons of television in history. And then it does like a crazy dive in the second season, and then
100%.
the huge dive. Like I really don't like the second season. The third
Me too.
season, it's still not great, but they're like kind of trying things. They're trying to come
Yeah.
back a little bit. They're like, yeah, I'll just leave it at that. But
How did you feel about the fourth season though?
season 4,
Yeah.
it's not as good as season 1, but
Yep.
god damn it, it's good enough. It's
I
pretty
was
good.
just gonna say, dude, I think I I agree with you 110%. Like you described exactly how I felt when I was watching it. And this is gonna sound blasphemous, but I didn't even finish the second season. I picked up on the third season because
That's
I got
hilarious.
really bored with the
Season
second
2
season.
is really not that great.
It's not that great, and it's funny because it has Sean Astin in it. And he's like the best part of season 2.
That's what
Which is
pissed me off is that like they bring him on to kill him off.
Yeah, immediately. It's crazy.
Then
And
because they
he
wanted
was
to
the
give you
best
they wanted
part.
to give you stakes. Season 1 had
Yeah.
stakes. So they
Yeah.
keep killing people off, but at the same time it's like, come on.
Yes.
Like,
Some people you gotta
we
not
don't
kill
care.
off.
We love Sean Astin, but we're just mad that you killed him. We didn't care about his character really yet.
We didn't care about his character really yet. I agree though. For me it was definitely the first and the fourth season that were the two best. And the fourth wasn't as good as the first, but it was fantastic.
Yeah, it was really good. This is what's crazy is I feel like it would let slip somewhere if they hid this well and they are going to do this, then season 5 could be really great. But if they really don't bring back Eddie Munson, like it's kind of such a waste. He was like one of
Yeah.
the best parts of that season, and just like the most beloved character of the whole show now.
Yeah, I agree.
And they're just not going to bring him back because I think they've said before that he's not coming back. He's
That
truly
would
dead
suck.
now. It does suck. I think they said they don't want to undercut what happened with it. It's like bullshit. Give the people what they want. You can make it riveting anyway.
I completely agree.
If they do bring him back, and they didn't let that slip, and he shows up at the end, and he's a badass, undead, upside down metalhead, that'd be cool.
Oh yeah. No, that would be awesome. Imagine he like absorbs like the power from the other dimension.
That's what I'm saying. Like he
Yeah.
becomes this music wielding badass who like rules over the upside down.
Yeah, that would be sick. He completely steals power from Vecna.
Yes.
That would be awesome. That would be sick.
Give the people what they want, make it happen. It's gonna be insane to me if that guy does not come back.
Yeah. I 100% agree.
It's kind of like how they're like, "Oh, bring Barb back," and they're like, "No, Barb's dead. Barb's dead."
No,
Which is like,
Barb's
yeah,
dead.
fuck Barb. You can leave her dead. Like, She was
I,
interesting because she died. That was a good one. Where you have a
you
character
know,
where like, damn, her death really was important and it was handled really well.
it
And
is
we
funny
don't need
because
her back.
I do wish when Barb first died, I really was like, man, I really wish they didn't kill Barb. But
Really?
yeah, as crazy as that is, but I was like, wow, she's such a, like an innocent character in this whole thing.
Exactly. That's because that's when Stranger Things was kind of cool.
Yeah, I did
It
not
was,
want her to die. I was like,
Stranger
kill
Things got a little
everybody else.
too heartwarming and a little too wholesome,
I think
as
that's
they
what they
say, Disneyified.
Disneyfied, yeah. I think that's
Disneyfied.
what they were trying to do with Eddie Munson is they were trying to make it less Disneyfied, but also find like a middle ground of killing off a character who's kind of like got kind of a heart of gold that you can see, but like portrays himself as not
Yeah.
that.
You know what
Whereas
you do?
Barb like was the opposite, or not the opposite, but she, you
Show
know,
him, bring him back at the very end, and have him in the most gory fashion way be the savior at the end in the most gory way possible.
yeah, that would be awesome. Did they
Have
really
him rip
show him get
Vecna in
killed?
half, and then like start to eat Vecna's flesh.
Did they show Eddie Munson actually get killed in the show, or did they just like cut away? I forgot.
They probably just cut away. I don't know. He's just getting he got killed by bats, dude.
Yeah, he got swarmed. All right. Let's say the trivia for Phantasm. The genesis of the story came to Don Coscarelli in a dream. One night in his late teens, he dreamed of fleeing down endlessly long marble corridors, pursued by a chrome sphere intent on penetrating his skull with a wicked needle. There was also a quite futuristic sphere dispenser out of which the orbs would emerge and begin chase. I find it I this is gonna sound weird, but I love hearing the influence for all these like for pretty much every movie that we've done like the lists for so far. I love when they tell us what influenced them to make the movie. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre guy said that he saw a bunch of chainsaws and he thought about like a way to get out of Christmas what do you call it? Christmas shopping by using the chainsaws. Like that's crazy, but that's hilarious. He thought of a whole movie from that stupid premise. The spheres were designed by craftsman Willard Green, who charged the production a little over 1,100 for his services. Sadly, he died just after production completed at the end of 1977 and never saw his work on the big screen. That sucks.
Yeah, that does suck. But hey,
Um,
he'll get over it.
but he'll get over it. Yeah, I mean, he never really had time to get over it or to not to like get into it. You know what I mean?
He'll get into it. Don't worry.
He'll get into it. The afterlife. Speaking of the afterlife, this next movie is called Possession. This is actually a pretty good movie with Sam Neill. I watched this one a few years ago. And it's pretty dry, but it's really good. Kind of like a mystery movie. So if you like kind of like a noirish kind of like vibe, but like with cults and like weird shit like that, then definitely check this movie out.
Sounds
Um
cool.
yeah, it's pretty good. A woman starts exhibiting increasingly disturbing behavior after asking her husband for a divorce, and suspicions of infidelity soon give way to something much more sinister. The film delves into themes of infidelity, paranoia, and grief, with Anna having a relationship with a bizarre tentacled creature. The plot escalates into a nightmarish scenario that blurs the lines between reality and delusion, culminating in a disturbing confrontation with the creature and the appearance of a doppelganger of Anna. I might have actually confused this movie with a different movie now that I read that out loud. But it's still pretty good. That's pretty crazy though. I think any Sam Neill movie is amazing though. Event Horizon, Jurassic Park, In the Mouth of Madness, Hunt for the Wilder People. That's a really good one by Taika Waititi and Sam Neill. That's a winning combo. But yeah, Sam Neill's cool. Sam Neill has commented on the rigors of filming. I call it the most extreme film I've ever made in every possible respect. And he asked of us things I wouldn't and couldn't go to now. and I think I only just escaped that film with my sanity barely intact. Seems like there's a there's a real what do you call that? There's a real track record here of Sam Neill doing movies that stretch his like mental sanity, like on
He
and
loves
off
it.
screen. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He clearly loves it that he goes for more movies like this. He's just like, after this movie, he's like, I gotta go see dinosaurs. I've seen too much. It's like too many Lovecraftian entities and Cthulhu like monsters. I need to see some dinosaurs. And he also said Sam Neill once cited Possession as his personal favorite of all the films he's ever been in. So that's cool. And speaking of Sam Neill and a movie I just referenced, not Jurassic Park, but the other one, In the Mouth of Madness. We've talked about this one before, so I'm not going to get quite too much into it, but this one's really good. I highly recommend you to watch this one, especially because it's very Lovecraftian, has just an insane amount of Lovecraft vibes about it. I think it's directed by John Carpenter too, which is awesome. But an insurance investigator begins discovering that the impact a horror writer's books have on his fans is more than inspirational. So it's basically about this guy named Sutter Kane, who's supposed to be like a stand-in for like a Stephen King type, whose books are essentially if you took Stephen King books but made them way more Lovecraftian instead of Stephen King-ish, if that makes sense.
He
So
gets
like
a
way
little
more.
Lovecraftian, I'd say.
He does, but I'm saying like more Lovecraftian. I'm saying
Yeah,
like even
definitely.
more so. So like
Cranked
more
up.
like, yeah, exactly, cranked up to like extreme. So this starts basically investigating the whereabouts of this writer, and he starts realizing that the book that Sutter Kane is writing is actually about him, and everything that's happening in the book is playing out in real life. And it's just a wild,
Classic.
like, yeah, it's crazy. Like, he goes to the movies because a movie eventually comes out as like the apocalypse is happening outside in the outside world. He goes to the movie theater to watch the movie that's based on what's on the book.
What happens at the theater?
And in the theater, he's eating popcorn, laughing, watching himself in the theater eating
Oh, he's
popcorn,
lost his
laughing.
mind by then.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's totally awesome. It's an amazing movie. He goes to like a town, and the small town has like a church, and it's got like this Lovecraftian entity behind like the door that's like breathing. It's crazy.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, it's a really good movie. I highly recommend it. You would definitely like it a lot. I recommend this to everybody. It's definitely an acquired taste, and it takes, I think it takes two viewings to really get it for a lot of people. Like, especially I had to watch it a couple times to really fully get what was going on. It's definitely worth it to watch. And if you watch it once, just get really fucking high because it's a trip. Here's a couple of fun facts for this movie. And I thought this one was funny because I remember the character in the movie, and I realized he looked familiar when I watched it, and I remember saying to myself, I'm like, that can't be. This is Hayden Christensen's feature film debut. He's the paper boy that Trent meets on the road. So there's a random paper boy that the guy Sam Neill meets on the road, and it's literally a young Hayden Christensen, a young Anakin Skywalker. Not literally young Anakin Skywalker, because that was Jake Lloyd, which
Yeah.
you know what's funny is this is the second young Anakin Skywalker trivia fact I found. I just
That's
realized
funny.
that. Remember we talked about Jake Lloyd in another one?
Yeah.
That's hilarious. So there's just young Anakins walking around Hollywood all over the place in these horror movies.
Don't do an Anakin.
Don't do an Anakin. Especially don't do a Jake Lloyd. But
All right, you're pushing
don't
it,
do
dude.
well, don't don't do an Hayden Christensen Anakin. I think that clears all that clears
Yeah.
all
You
checks.
said especially Jake Lloyd.
No, I think especially the Hayden Christensen Anakin. Don't do that. But the Jake Lloyd Anakin is don't ruin your life. That's what I mean by that.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
He
Um
allegedly ruined his life.
he allegedly ruined his life. He sounds like he's doing good though. Remember we Googled this, and it said on Google that he was doing good.
Yeah. What's he up to? Like, what's he doing? That's so good.
Well, it said that following his his psychotic break or whatever, he's doing better. So that's good.
Thankfully, he didn't kill anyone.
I don't think he did. I think he just like almost did.
Thankfully, he didn't.
Oh, yeah, I agree. Anyways, the second fact to this is it contains many references to H.P. Lovecraft stories. For example, is the name I think they messed up. Oh, for example, the name of the hotel and hotel owner Pickman is a reference to the short story Pickman's Model. And for anyone curious too, Fallout has a lot of H.P. Lovecraft references. And if I'm not mistaken, one of the quests that you go on is for actually a guy named Pickman, and is to retrieve his art. And Pickman's Model was actually about a art. Oh no, the one that I'm thinking of. So one of my favorite H.P. Lovecraft stories I read. I guess I just want to throw this out there. I like The Color Out of Space a lot, but the one that I read and I immediately was like kind of just like captivated. I immediately was like every word I was drawn to. It was about a guy who rides his bike and comes upon a really dilapidated house. And this really weird old dude just invites him into the house. Basically tells the dude to like sit down, and he starts looking at like these the pictures in the house. And he starts realizing that they're just like really fucked up and horrifying pictures. Like not
what?
pictures, but like paintings. Well, just like you know how Lovecraft, like he describes these like demonic, like eldritch entities and like in these
So that's
like
it's paintings of the Lovecraftian horror.
yeah, and like also like corpses and shit like that. Yeah, pretty interesting. But yes, this next movie I actually was gonna watch recently. We kind of talked about it a little bit. Neither of us have seen it, but I'm sure both of us would want to see it. It's kind of a classic. It's the first giallo horror movie of all time. A giallo movie. It's kind of redundant because giallo just kind of means like a certain kind of Italian horror. But it's the first giallo movie, or the king of giallo movies. Maybe not the first, but it was like the first huge one. It's called Suspiria. It's Susie Bannon travels to Germany to perfect her ballet skills. She arrives at the Tanz Dance Academy in the pouring rain and is refused admission after another woman is seen fleeing the school. She returns the next morning and this time is let in. She learns that the young woman she saw fleeing the previous evening, Pat Hingle, has been found dead. Strange things soon begin to occur. Susie becomes ill and is put on a special diet. The school becomes infested with maggots, and odd sounds abound, and Daniel the pianist is killed by his own dog. A bit of research indicates that the ballet school was once a witch's coven, and as Susie learns, still is. Yeah, that movie sounds fucking awesome. Like everything about it, it sounds like fucking cool. No, agree, right? That sounds cool.
I think I've heard good things about the first one, the original, which is the one you're describing.
Yeah,
But I heard mixed things about the remake.
yeah. I don't. Yeah, I probably wouldn't watch the remake. I feel like if you want to watch something like like something like this, but like a newer version of this, watch Black Swan. And it's not even the same thing at all. It's two totally different movies, but if you want like a more of like a this in like the newer century, that would be the movie I would watch. Right? That's kind of that vibe. You know, I watched that once when it came out, and that seems about right.
Black Swan's like suspense drama, maybe even psychological,
Yeah,
but
that's about right.
Suspiria's like suspense horror, I would say probably.
Yeah, it was psychological, so it's just missing like it's drama instead of horror, so it's a similar vibe, but just drama instead of horror. I also heard the new one wasn't good either. Here's a couple of facts about Suspiria. Director Dario Argento had cinematographer Luciano Tovoli watch Snow White and the Seven Dwarves from 1937 to have him model the color scheme of that film for this one. And if you watch the movie, it's super, super vibrant, like colors, like everything about it is just like ramped up with like the color scheme. And that's one of the things that's really good about giallo horror. or giallo movies specifically,
Yeah, why can't horror be pretty?
or vibrant. That's actually the thing that I like about a lot of horror movies at this time that I do want to mention is that in the 70s and 80s horror movies had a lot of vibrant colors. Like blood was like felt more vibrant and more like almost real, as weird as that is to say. Like it didn't feel CGI'd. Like it felt like I feel like blood looked like I don't know, lighter and just had more of like an effect and more of like a mysticism about it. Now it just is like dark and is just like, gross. I mean, as blood is. But like I feel like movies back then, blood was just like this crazy, like vibrant color at this time in movies. Blood was just different back in the day.
Just like strawberry syrup.
I think there is something that they were using at this time that was different from like modern blood. Like I think there is like a slight chemical difference or something, like corn syrup and shit. That's blood, corn syrup and shit. I want to just make a real quick left field comment though that relates to this movie sort of. Well, actually, let me say this fact real quick and then I'll say that. Cuz this is sort of relates but not really. Director Dario Argento composed the creepy music with the band Goblin and played it at full blast on set to unnerve the actors and elicit a truly scared performance. You'd really like the soundtrack of Suspiria. So this is the thing I wanted to mention is that Dario Argento had a daughter who's sort of famous. If anybody's ever seen the Triple X movie, the first one, you'll know she's the essentially like the Bond girl to Xander Cage in that movie. She's like the main star of the movie other than Vin Diesel. So Asia Argento is famous because of acting and being Dario Argento's daughter, but she also got into a little bit of trouble during the Me Too movement because apparently like she groomed some kid that was like 10 up till like
The
when he was
fuck?
like in his 20s.
Who?
And
Who
I
did
forgot it was
this?
some it was Asia Argento. And
Wait, what?
yeah, it was
Wait,
some crazy thing.
is this the lady who dated Anthony Bourdain?
Yes, that's also part of it too.
Oh
She
my
dated Anthony
god.
Bourdain.
Oh my god.
And then right after like the Me Too movement happened and right after she got like accused of all this shit is when he passed.
He was gonna tell the world that she's a satanic elite.
Maybe that or the fact that you're the person that you're with, your fiance, you just suddenly figure out that they're like a pedo and they've been grooming some kid for like 10 to 15 years and also has cheated on on you with them. That would definitely bring up
Everybody knows that though. He'd be coming out with the truth that's already known.
yeah, but that basically that's like a level of an embarrassment for somebody is what I'm saying is
Yeah.
you know what I mean? He probably felt like that just like kind of ruined his life, his like image of a perfect life. I'm
True.
not saying it's right for him to do that at all. I don't think that was right at all. I think Anthony Bourdain was
I
a
know what you mean. You support his decision.
I know okay. Anthony Bourdain had an incredibly interesting mind. And I think he's one of those types of people that we should definitely keep in respect and he was cool. Fuck
Yeah,
Age
Anthony
Argento.
Bourdain was cool.
Yeah. 100%. Next movie. My Best Friend is a Vampire. We talked a little bit about this one before too, off air, but this is one that it's a decent movie. I wouldn't say I completely recommend it. I haven't seen this movie since I was a little kid, but it was a pretty good movie when I watched it. It's a young student finds himself being transformed to a vampire after a night delivering pizzas to a female vampire. First, he does not quite believe it himself, but with the help of a 300-year-old teacher in the Handbook of Vampirism, a guide to an alternative lifestyle, he finds out that blood does not taste as bad as he expected. Of course, he does not bite women. As a good guy, he sticks to pig blood, which is offered by the local butcher, as a special offer for vampires. Trouble rises when a vampire hunter tries to track him down with wooden sticks and silver bullets.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, it's pretty good. His best friend like helps him and shit like that. That's why my best friend is a vampire. He ends up like finding like a whole world, and I think werewolves are in this movie too at the end, but I could be wrong. Maybe they just turn into wolves and that's like part of their like transformation. Here are the facts for this one. Kathy Bates and David Warner both appeared together in Titanic 1997 and this movie. Two of the actors also went on to act in various Star Trek franchises. Renee Auberjonois as Odo in Star Trek Deep Space Nine, and David Warner in various roles such as Gul Madred in Star Trek Next Generation, 1987. I didn't really find any other interesting facts for that movie. That movie was just like, all right, watch it if you want. It's a unique vampire movie. That's a positive I can say about it. You know what I mean?
It doesn't suck?
It doesn't suck. It doesn't. It doesn't suck. Well, maybe it does. Maybe that's the good thing about it. You know what I mean? It doesn't blow. I'll say that. Here's the next vampire movie on the list: Near Dark. I actually just watched this movie recently for the first time ever. It's pretty good. It's about this guy who basically he picks up this woman on the side of the like highway at some random bar or whatever. She bites him as he's taking her home before sunrise, and she turns him into a vampire. He ends up running away from home because of it and joining this group of like vampires that are like, some of them, like one of them was a Confederate soldier, one of them was like a kid, like going back like to like ancient times or whatever. I don't know. That's what it seemed like. He seemed like really old. A lot of different stuff like that. It was a pretty good movie. It had kind of like a Western vibe about it. And you know what? This would also make a good companion piece to From Dusk Till Dawn if you were going to take more of a serious part of the movie, because it has a From Dusk Till Dawn kind of outlaw feel to it, like with the vampires and everything, but it's not as campy and wacky as it. Future husband James Cameron suggested to Bigelow that she use the ready-made ensemble cast from his recent hit Aliens, and thus Lance Henriksen, Bill Paxton, and Jeanette Goldstein all appear in Bigelow's film. Michael Biehn had also appeared in Aliens and was considered but declined to participate. Honestly, if Michael Biehn had been in this movie, that would have been pretty awesome. He's cool. Michael Bihn's the shit.
Who's Michael Biehn again?
What can I say he was in? In Aliens, he was the main colonial marine. In Terminator, he's Kyle Reese, the guy who gets sent back in time to knock up Sarah Connor. Have you ever seen Planet Terror?
No.
He's a sheriff in Planet Terror. What else was he in? Michael B. I think he was in the movie Clock Stoppers. I think he was the bad guy in Clock Stoppers, but I could be wrong. As weird as that is. He was in Tombstone. He was in The Abyss. He's in a lot of good stuff, though. He's like a really good actor. If you saw him, you'd probably recognize him like instantly. I think he was in Clock Stoppers, though. I'm positive, if I'm not mistaken, he was the bad guy in Clock Stop. Do you know that movie? You know what movie I'm talking about?
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yes, he was the bad guy in Clock Stoppers. That movie's amazing. All right, so if you can remember the bad guy from Clock Stoppers, that's Michael Biehn. This movie, unusual for a vampire movie, the word vampire is never mentioned. I think they use words like bloodsucker and shit like that. According to Bill Paxton, the driver that gives him the finger when he's hitchhiking is played by none other than James Cameron, who had visited the set that day. That's funny. This next movie is a classic in the genre. We went over Night of the Living Dead on the well-known horror list. I thought about putting Dawn of the Dead in that one, and I even thought about putting Dawn of the Dead in this one, because I'm a fan of both the original and the remake of Dawn of the Dead. Have you seen the remake of Dawn of the Dead?
No.
You should watch it, and the reason why I say you should watch it is it was directed by Zack Snyder, and it was written by James Gunn.
You should change this title of this episode to Movies That I Have Not Seen.
That's not so bad. There's a lot of movies you haven't seen. There's a lot of movies I haven't seen. I'm going over movies that I've seen for the most part. There's still some movies that I threw on here, though, that I haven't seen, and I even tried to watch some. But so it wouldn't just be like both of us being like, oh yeah, I haven't seen this movie either. Okay, sounds pretty good. All right, next movie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's almost like the host fails at movie quote trivia. The anti-host hasn't seen a lot of these movies.
I don't know who you're talking about.
Oh, yeah, sorry. All right, so this movie is, again, I would recommend you watch Dawn of the Dead. Fantastic, the remake. The original's really good, too. Highly recommend it, but I would recommend to you to watch the new one, written by James Gunn, directed by Zack Snyder. winning team right there. Kind of crazy that both of them went
Wait.
on to be.
Yeah, they should work together again.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, it's crazy that they went on both to make DC, like become basically head of DC, both of them. Like that's crazy. That's awesome though.
They need to fuse their universes together, Earth 1 and Earth 2.
That would be cool, honestly. I think that would be like since Warner Brothers might be sold to Netflix now, that might be the direction because they're talking about getting rid of or stopping James Gunn's universe already.
Why?
Yeah, well, because Netflix has a good relationship with Zack Snyder.
I hope it's just as simple as why doesn't Superman have super hearing? And they're like, yeah, all right, James Gunn, we're going to hit the brakes right now.
Yeah, that would be the stupidest reason if that was the reason.
Nah, because, like, for real, why doesn't he have super hearing?
He does. I'm telling you, he does.
Then why didn't he hear the engineer chattering away to Lex Luthor about how she's breaking into his house?
Oh, yeah. I don't know. Maybe because he was weak. I don't know. Good point, though.
He just healed back up and he was leaving when she broke in.
Yeah, maybe because he was distracted. I don't know. That's a good point, though. That is a good point. But anyways, so yeah, Dawn of the Dead was one that I thought about adding to the list, but I decided not to. And instead, I added this one, which is kind of a more low key of the trilogy. You had Night of the Living Dead, you have Dawn of the Dead, and then you have this one, Day of the Dead. A lot of people don't watch this movie, but I think it's still really good, and it still completes the trilogy really well. It's about as the world is overrun by zombies, a group of scientists and military personnel sheltering in an underground bunker in Florida must decide on how they should deal with the undead horde. They're basically trying to figure out how to resolve surviving through the apocalypse, but also deal with like the human factor of it and deal with all the crazy shit that's happening. And also maybe how to fix zombies. I think that's part of the plot is they're trying to figure out how to reverse the zombie issue. But it's pretty good. It's a really good movie. I procrastinated watching this movie for a really long time because I thought it was gonna be kind of like whatever. And then I ended up watching it. And I was like, holy shit, this movie's actually fantastic. Here's some trivia facts about it. I got quite a few actually. All the extras who portrayed zombies in the climax received for their services a cap that said, I played a zombie in Day of the Dead, a copy of the newspaper from the beginning of the film, the one that says The Dead Walk, and $1. That's funny. On the special edition DVD, director George A. Romero claims this is his favorite film out of the original Dead trilogy. And that's kind of funny. The original script for which Romero couldn't get the budget for involved the scientists living above ground in a fortress protected by electrified fences and the military living safely underground. It also involved a small army of trained zombies in the conclusion to the trilogy, more brutal than the release version. This later became the basis of Land of the Dead. I started watching Land of the Dead back in the day.
How's that?
It was okay. I think it's one of Jay Baruchel's first movies, if I'm not mistaken. It was okay. It's nothing like crazy. It was just like it's kind of like I would say it's his worst movie. If he didn't do any other zombie movies after that, I think that was probably his worst one. But, a bad zombie movie from George Romero is still better than a bad zombie movie from anybody else.
True.
It's also a road trip movie, too. So I think a lot of inspiration for Zombieland came from Land of the Dead. The underground facility was not on a soundstage. It was shot in the Wampum Mine, a former limestone mine near Pittsburgh that was being used for an underground storage facility. The 2,500,000 square foot mine is now operated as the Gateway Commerce Center and is referred to as the subsurface storage facility. That's funny. When you watch it too, it's literally just like this big underground bunker.